What's up, my beautiful people? We are back for another round. I should say, let's see if we've actually gone live. There we are. We are back for another live round of Q&A. By the way, I really love seeing the progress that you guys make over time. It's really cool. I feel like I live vicariously through you. You know, when I started this in 2007, I was sleeping on my girlfriend's couch, and I had that, like, I call him the anti-cheerleader. I had the father-in-law who's like, why don't you get a real job and just give up on, like, this is pointless, it's stupid, you haven't made any money. And, seeing you guys win, like, just kind of like, it's like sticking it to the man for me. So I'm super stoked to have you guys here. Quick little announcement. We're doing some pretty awesome stuff in the mastermind. For those of you guys who are at the stage where you're trying to balance sales and fulfillment, which is a real challenge, or you're bringing in people and scaling, or if you're just feeling that recessions, we've got some stuff that, like, I don't wish for recessions because a lot of people get hurt, but there's no reason it can't be the best like time of your life financially. Personally, that doesn't mean it's going to be awesome for everybody, but there's a lot of tools and strategies we work that actually work even better in a recession. So in a lot of ways, like for a lot of people in the mastermind, this is going to be their biggest year ever. Sucks for those other people, but man, if you guys are interested in that, by the way, just reach out. I just got a little video to send you. And then also, even if you're not ready for it at that point, or it's not something you'd be interested, I have some other things to send you that will help you with whatever current stage you're in. I like to just like give more. So whatever you guys are in need of, I'll give you something cool on that. So even if like the timing isn't right, wouldn't. So that's my way of saying leave me a message. Anyway, let's get into the question. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, Frankie Finn proudly brings you our weekly Q&A. For those of you guys who watch 90s wrestling, you will get that reference. Udi, I hope I'm saying your name correctly, says, what am I doing wrong? I have a 7-week training program for immigrants on how to land high-paying office jobs and facing interviews. It's $997. I'm currently targeting master's degrees holders, job hunters, LinkedIn, Indeed as audience, but the ads are not reaching or bringing in clicks. The CPM is huge, only get a handful of clicks. Can you guys give me some ideas on how to nail down to immigrants looking for office jobs and interviews so I can decrease CPMs and cost per lead and increase options? My funnel goes ad, opt-in, webinar, offer. Okay, Udi, this is where Big Daddy here, Big Daddy Finn is going to give some advice that is hard to hear, but it's the truth, is nobody wants your offer as it's packaged and presented now. Having said that, there's lots of ways to reposition an offer, so it doesn't mean like nobody wants what you're doing. Consider those separate things, but the way you've got it packaged, I'll give you a couple of red flags for me. One of those is that it's 7 weeks, okay? I know that sounds cool because like when we give away trainings and courses, it sounds cool to have more, but I'll tell you, if you can give people the result in 7 minutes or 7 hours or 7 weeks, most people would take the 7 minutes, right? So Kevin Nations has a really, really cool story. When you understand this, you'll focus on producing results for people faster, where he says, like, there's this guy, he goes to the dentist, and he's a general contractor, and the dentist is an old friend of his from high school, and he's got a tooth hurting, and the dentist says it needs to be pulled out. Good news is I can do it in like 10 minutes. It'll cost about $600. So he leaves the room for a second, says, I'll be back. Let me know your decision. And the guy thinks about it. He's like, $600, man. I work for $30 an hour. That'll cost me 20 hours. It's half a week a week's worth of work. Like, he's only going to do this for 10 minutes. That seems outrageous. So he decides he's going to confront his dentist friend. He says, like, old high school buddy, that's a lot of money for a short amount of time. And the dentist says, if it's time you're worried about, I can make it take longer. Right? So that's my way of saying, like, 7 weeks is not a benefit. I know most people think it is, but it's really not, especially if you're dealing with people. Second thing is you may be targeting broke people. If you're targeting people without jobs to get jobs, they may just not have any money. So you may be going after, like, the actual wrong segment of the market. You want people who are actually buying things. And then the price point, if they don't have jobs, $997 is probably going to be, like, a high price point. And then the thing that I would actually most do, of all the things I said that would actually probably tighten your offer, is narrow it down and focus on like niches within. So instead of saying like office jobs, like Dave was an engineer and got a high paying corporate job in Frog Balls, Arkansas, or whatever, like the more you can make it specific and believable, that alone will, like, 90% of the time, by the way, when I see offers and they're high ticket offers and they're not working, they're not specific enough. It's like business owners, I can increase your profits. Like, well, I'm a business owner. I don't think that's talking to me. It's much more powerful. I saw an ad the other day. It was for mortgage brokers. I don't know the guy, but I suspect it was working. It said, hey, if you're a mortgage broker in Australia doing between 2 and 3 million a month, we have a program that gets you in 12 months to over 12 or 10 million per month in booked like mortgages and commissions that come with it. And no, we don't do ads, and no, it's not scaling. This is not an agency. We just show you our system, and we have like 12 of the top 30 mortgage brokers in Australia. And it was so specific that I thought, how could you not believe that would work, right? So you want to like really be that level of specific. I suspect if you just do that, your ads will start working better and people will start clicking them, because it's probably just generic and untargeted. But if you want some more specific advice, feel free to post the ad and the actual targeting. Richard, my man, good to see you, fellow Mexican. Not real Mexican, but we're expats in Mexican. How can I make a website conversion rate optimization offer compelling? Good question, Richard. I mean, this is the age-old website conversion rate optimization is a hammer, right? So you never want to sell the hammer as a hammer. My question is, like, who are you doing the conversion for? I know in your case, we haven't mentioned it's general contractors, but like, for example, let's say that the website is for commercial roofing, and I would choose something like that very strategically, because commercial roofs are like $100,000 and up kind of jobs, and I don't know about every roofing company, but I've heard the margins are like 10 to 30%. So that's like $10,000 to $30,000 they get paid for doing a big roofing job. Well, if you're going to tweak the conversions on that website so that like more phone calls or more sales come through, that's going to make a much bigger deal of difference than, say, if you convert a handyman who like repairs holes in drywall. Not saying like your skill wouldn't work equally in both of those cases. So instead of focusing on the hammer, I focus on who's using the hammer and what outcome they're trying to produce. And that's how I position it, is like, hey, I noticed a way on your website like that I could squeeze out another commercial job or two every month. Would you be interested in hearing what I have to say? Pretty much like the answer is always going to be yes, right? So where we get stuck is we come to them and we show up with our hammer and say, I got a hammer. It's got a really nice ergonomic handle. It's made out of like super shiny, strong metal. Buy my hammer. And they're like, I don't really need a hammer. But if you say to them, hey, I noticed you're trying to build a really nice deck where you can throw barbecues on. Did you know this hammer will make your life 1,000 times easier? It's the latter they're interested in. So almost always, like if we're trying to sell the hammer as a hammer, it's a low-priced hammer. I'll give you a perfect example of that, just so you guys can wrap your head around this. The other day, I was checking out some graphic design stuff, and the graphic design stuff, I was blown away by how cheap it was going for. Like, I don't know, I buy a lot of graphic design stuff on Fiverr, logos and brochures and things like that, all of them for under $100. And if you're a graphic designer, a lot of times people can feel that pressure and say, oh, nobody wants this expensive, or nobody's willing to pay for graphic design. I saw a post by a marketer I know named Anik Singhal, and he said, does anyone here design New York Times best-selling author covers? Now, I'm willing to bet a best-selling author cover starts at like 10 grand and might even go up to like 50 grand for a cover, and that's still graphic design, right? But what makes that so valuable is who they're doing it for, is the best-selling author. So my question for you, Richard, is like, what's the most expensive $100 bill stuff in your niche? I would focus my website optimization stuff around that, and then you'd be amazed, right? Because if you can just bring somebody one extra commercial roof, or one big cement job, or one big government contract, or whatever it is, I don't know the niche as well as you do, then you'll find that like it instantly becomes a lot more desirable. And I find too, even as contractors and trades get really busy, the high value work always has an appeal, right? Like even if a roofing company is backed up for 3 weeks, if they can get another $300,000 commercial roof for a factory, they're going to want to take it. So that's where I would focus my optimization, is like at the $100 bill, and then your offer is not really about the hammer at all. The hammer is just a secondary thing. It's like, I can get you more commercial roofs, and here's how I'd do it. Are you interested? Hope that helps, my man. Aaron says, What do you do to protect your intellectual property in your ad accounts? I'm thinking of writing into my future contacts and creatives, the clients. However, optimization inside of the campaign remain property of my agency. For example, this way they cannot benefit from running ads without my agency's work. What are your thoughts? Aaron, here's the deal, okay? So, like, clients are, no matter what you put in a contract, may try and take your shit out of your ad account. But for those of you guys who have done this, it sounds like in your case you're running Facebook ads. How long do Facebook ads work? Anybody here, by the way, ran Facebook ads for like almost 10 years? Me. And I'll tell you, I'm sure some of you guys as well have. There's people who've been running them, longer than me. I don't know if quite 10 years, probably like 7, 8. But a long time. Anyways, I'm gray in the beard with Facebook ads. And I'll tell you, the longest ad I've ever ran is for 7 months. Like, they just don't work forever. They just don't. Right? So the idea that they're going to take your ad and they're going to use your creatives and they're going to run with it is not really going to happen. So this is my way of saying, like, it's probably more of a non-issue than you realize because, and that's the other thing is like, with Facebook ads and things like that, you got to watch them, right? There's some point where the ads, 100% of the time, by the way, offers will go to zero at some point, right? Like, because either the market evolves or things change or there's copycats, whatever. But there's no offer that works forever. And so that's why I'm like big on the skill of offer making, because when the market changes, what most people do is go, I don't know, I'm screwed over. And what I do is go, okay, I'll just make a new offer and zig when everyone else zags and, produce more. So that's my way of saying learn the skill set where you're irreplaceable, and then it'll be even less of an issue. Gio says, getting really busy with a project. I have 2 clients remaining, a restaurant for $1K a month. They send content and I post it on IG 3 times a week and switch the engagement ad to the content that was just posted, plus a traffic ad to their website, which I switch the creative on once a month, and a baby ultrasound center at $1,500 a month for Google Ads management and sometimes Facebook ads, depending on how's the calendar. There's another restaurant client, $2K a month, that I paused until further notice. Thinking of selling what's left off of the agent because I need more cash flow for this new project and don't want to continue focusing on the agency. Does anyone have experience selling their agency or what to do if you were in my shoes? Thanks, appreciate it. Gio, I hate to break it to you. I'm going to find a book for you if I can find it. Okay. I guess I can't find the book, sorry. But I was going to show you Built to Sell by John Warlow. And I would read that book because right now you don't actually have a sellable agency. I hate to break it to you because there's no system. If you sold your agency as is, what would happen is clients would, the buyer would want to keep you on the fulfillment side of things, and so you wouldn't actually get out of it, which is the whole point of selling it. But having said that, what I would do in your shoes is I would find somebody who services clients in those niches and sell them one-off. So you mentioned like the baby ultrasound. You also mentioned, what was the other one? The restaurant. So I would find somebody who already does like Google Ads for restaurants and say, hey, I have a client and I'm no longer able to manage them. I would love to just give you this client and then you could pay me a monthly fee to manage it. Would you be open to that? That's how I would sell it, is just sell the clients, the rights to the clients one by one. And then you could probably sell all those clients like that. But as far as a sellable agency, what people are looking for in a sellable agency, by the way, is a productized offer, which we talked about last week, that can be delivered by people at scale that even if the owner disappears for 6 months, will continue to grow because of the systems and processes. And it's a very tight, narrow kind of thing. So if you have that, it's sellable. If you don't, what will happen is even if somebody buys it, they're going to try and keep you on board, and then you won't be really selling anything. You'll just be working for someone else. So I hope that's helpful, my man. But that's the thing I would say, is just like sell off the clients one by one to people who already do those things, and you'll probably be able to pull that off. Jennifer says, for those of you who do sales and take a commission from the sale and or partnership agreement, what is the typical percentage or flat rate you charge? Example, you connect a client with a partnership or affiliate where they make a recurring revenue. How much would you charge? So Jennifer, this is kind of a broad answer because I want this to be helpful to obviously people who aren't just you. When you're doing like an introduction for somebody, it's often pretty typical to take 5 or 10% just to make an introduction. That's not atypical. You say, hey, I can connect you with so and so. Can I just ask for a little referral fee in the middle? And they'll say, yeah. And like 5 or 10%, like I said, it's pretty typical. If you're actually delivering on the sales, what I mentioned is 30 to 50% is like the typical amount. Having said that, it's 30 to 50% of the profit. So like if you're helping somebody to sell a course and that course sells for $1,000, it's probably almost all profit if it's a digital course. And so $500 wouldn't be like atypical. But if you're helping somebody sell like a commercial roofing job, they may make $100,000, but it's certainly not all profit. And so like the approach to that is going to be different. It's usually 30 to 50% of what they're actually keeping. And the reason I say that because that's really, really important when you get into these revenue share deals. It has to work for everybody. So you ask the question, is that of all revenue? And the answer is generally no. That is of your profit margins. So like you want to focus on, because they can always afford to spend 30 to 50% of their profit margin. So if they make 8K on a deal, you're only going to talk about 30 to 50% on that 8K, even if the deal itself is $100,000. So what I typically do is go like, on a typical $100,000 job, what do you make? And if they say I make 20 grand, I'd say, well, I would be asking for 8 to 10,000 per deal. Are you open to that? So yeah, that's kind of that, and that's basically the model for revenue sharing in general. Tamara asks, looking to hire our first sales rep, was wondering what the typical comp package looks like. I'm going to probably answer the question you didn't ask as well, just like helping you a little bit with hiring salespeople for the first time. Here's the deal, okay? Salespeople probably do not come out of the box like ready to sell. On rare occasion they do, but what I would do is always like test them on 5 to 10 calls to see how they actually do it. And what I'm looking for are two things. One, can they close people? Like obviously, like it doesn't work if a salesperson can't actually make sales. But the second thing, and it's actually equally as important, is do they do that like ethically with integrity? Meaning like do they set real expectations, right? Because I've had salespeople promise anything to make sales, but then what ends up happening is you can't actually fulfill on it because if the client thinks they're going to have $100 million by tomorrow and you can't actually deliver that, you're just going to be in a miserable situation. So those are the two things I'm looking for. Now, having said that, typical paying a salesperson is 10 to 20%. And by the way, most salespeople do not work for recurring revenue, meaning you don't have to pay them 20% for the life of the contract, just 20% one time, especially if you're the one generating the appointment. Having said that, this is my personal preference. I like to have really good professional salespeople, and the way to do that is to pay on the higher side. So I like personally, even though everyone else pays like 10 or 20%, I'll go like 30, 40, even 50% of the first month. Meaning if you have like a $2,000 a month Facebook ad package, I will give $1,000 commission right up front to the Facebook ads person because I know I'm going to make it on month 2 and month 3 and month 4 and month 5, especially if you have retention in place and good systems, then you know you can pay more up front for those deals because you're going to keep them longer. And I find it just attracts better salespeople to pay higher up front because then they can earn more, and so they have more incentive to do those. But having said that, that's the typical compensation package. It's 10 to 20%. Having said that, go higher, I think. Richard says, we got part 2. Oops, I just hit my microphone. Do you recommend that I mention their website and how I can see that it could be optimized? Yes, Richard. Specifics always work better. And so, for example, like I call this, when I do outreach, I do a thing called naming their baby. It's not the only thing I do in outreach. And I'm not saying like there's only one way to be successful in outreach. Our way works, but I'm sure there's other ways that work too. Having said that, feel free to model it if it works for you. And one of the things about naming their baby is they care a great deal about their thing and 0% about your thing. And most people do the opposite. They say, hey, we are an SEO agency. This is our baby. We do SEO. And what I like to do is I name their baby. So like, for example, if somebody reached out to me and said, hey, we can help you get more sales, that's a pretty generic, like untargeted message. But if they said, hey, Frankie, I want to help you sell your book beyond the agency box, right? That's my book. It's got a name. It's my baby, right? If somebody names that, I'm gonna pay attention more. So if you can name their business or name their specific product or service and name those things, it immediately makes the offer more specific, more valuable? How do I avoid offering them about their website? Richard, man, you are on a roll today. I don't. What I do is offer to produce the result, which is what they're after. So like we mentioned, the commercial jobs, like whether you do that through Google or Facebook ads, an offer, by the way, is very little to do with about how you're going to deliver it, and more about like the combination of like the problem you're going to solve for who and the end outcome. And we call this the heaven and the hell. It's about like, I'm going to take you away from the things you don't like and move you to the things that you do like. And what most people do is they sell the journey in between, and people care very little actually about the journey in between. They just want, get me off Hell Island, get me to Heaven Island. So in our case, like a lot of people come to us for our mastermind because they're doing sales calls, and sales calls suck. I know everybody thinks having 100 booked appointments are awesome until you get 100 booked appointments, and then you're just drained from doing sales calls all day. And then we say, well, we could just get it to where you could sell your clients with a video by making the offer easy to sell. There's a whole process that takes them from one to the other, but we don't talk about the process. We talk about the misery of sales calls and the joy of being able to just sell it through a 5-minute video, right? So in your case, without offending. Okay, you actually wrote that. I just misread it. My bad, my man. How do you do it without offending them? I just do it like very, very, very casual. And again, like I don't want to tell you there's only one way to be successful. There's always lots of ways to be successful. How I do that personally is it's very casual. Like I just say like, hey Richard, dude, I was checking out ABC Roofing and saw you guys do these really awesome, like big commercial jobs. And I had a quick idea for you to get another commercial job out of the people already visiting your website. Is it cool if I share it with you? Like that's the whole message. It's not like a, hey, your website sucks and all these things are wrong and broken. As I present it as like, hey, I noticed some things that could be improved that will help you do more of what it is you're already trying to do. If you do that, you don't usually offend people. The other way too is if you are approaching an offensive topic, is I do it with stories. So like for example, often when I'm making, like when I see somebody making big mistakes in their agency, I try to tell a story about me where I made the same mistake, because otherwise it can be like you're doing this wrong and like all like finger pointy about all the bad things they're doing, and that comes across as very offensive. But if you do it as like just like hey, I've been there, this thing happened to me and here's what I figured out, or my client was there and they were experiencing the same thing and here's what we figured out, it becomes a lot less offensive. But the biggest thing is like I just keep it casual, just like, just had a really cool idea to help you guys do more of the big stuff you're trying to do. They already want the big stuff, so you don't have to like fight them on that. You just have to like, point to that. Billy says, this wasn't a question so much as a comment, but he says, been thinking about creating digital assets more after a recent post. Come across Ryan Levesque's Ask method where he is leasing his quiz funnels for a few $1,000s per month and $5,000 to $10,000 upfront. I already make these for clients for free and they have huge impact. Time to start monetizing. Billy, this is one of the real secrets that we kind of are going over a lot more in the mastermind. But marketers all the time create intellectual property that they don't understand has value, and because of it, don't fully utilize it. I'll tell you like an example in my niche. So when I started speaking at all the lawyer conferences and getting to know all the big shot lawyers, I would meet like really big personality lawyers. Like there's a heavy hitter in every state. Like, so every state has a lawyer who swings a baseball bat or a hammer and tells everyone he's the heavy hitter. In every state, there's a hammer. Like and there's a lawyer I know in Texas who screams on top of a tractor trailer and goes, insurance companies need to be hammered. And that's his TV commercial. And I thought it was ridiculous when I first saw it. But then after I met the hammer in Texas, I met a hammer in Alabama. I thought I would meet a hammer in another state and another hammer in another state. I'm like, what's with this fucking hammer thing? Well, what I found out is when I got into the masterminds that a lawyer would figure out a gimmick that would work. And he can only use it in one state. And there's 49 other states that could still use that. And so he would license his intellectual property. And so he would get paid a monthly residual fee for the ideas he had come up with. And here's the kicker. 0 extra work, right? And so one of the things that, I'm really big on is helping people to get out of like this, I work for clients and I work for assets as an investor and I lease my assets to clients. And so you're paid for your assets. Like the richest guy I know in my hometown of Windsor, Ontario, Canada, is a dude who owns 6 apartment buildings and a golf course. And he's rich because he owns 6 apartment buildings and a golf course, right? Like, he's not rich because he has 18,000 clients. He leases his assets, in this case, a real physical, tangible, real world asset. But we have these in marketing all the time. And a simple example of this, somebody runs Google ads for a plumber in Frog Balls, Arkansas, and after like 3-4 months, they crack it and they figure out how to make stuff like plumbing phone calls come in for the plumber, and they don't realize they're sitting on intellectual property. And instead of using that asset for like 3,000 other plumbers around the country and even in other countries, they go and look for a dentist to do Facebook ads. And so they miss the real goal. The beautiful thing is, if you understand this, you can acquire other people's assets. I've acquired other people's assets where they hand me all their marketing materials and things they've worked for because they don't understand it's an asset. And I just pay after I get the client, meaning I immediately have case studies and clients and proof and blah, blah, blah. And you start already with a system that's working that you can sell for a proven amount, and it costs you $0 up front. So if you understand this, you can be like way, way more efficient in your marketing agency and have less clients to, like, you know, answer to and kiss ass to, because the lawyer who's leasing the big heavy hitter or the hammer, or there's like a one call, that's all. The lawyers who lease that intellectual property, they don't have clients. They don't have to answer to anybody. They just send like, here's all my IP in a document. Enjoy. Go use this. If you have any questions, let me know. There might be a few questions here and there, but other than that, that's where you want to get paid, right? So if you understand that, like, this is why the recession coming is going to be so good for those who understand it, because assets go on sale in every direction in shitty economies. And if you're working for clients for money gets tighter and tighter and tighter, and it's a harder and harder game. But if you're working for assets, they're everywhere, they're easily acquirable in number, and you can like acquire real world assets, you can acquire marketing assets. All of it is just knowing how to make the right offer that gets people to just turn them over. And usually it's not much. Some basic negotiation skills. You know, one of my mentors says, like, everybody in marketing is so focused on sales that they miss that most of the investor money is actually made when you buy. Like in the case of the system I mentioned, I made the money when the guy said, I'll give you $0 down, and I think he said $400 per client, right? That's when the money was made, when I acquired the system on those terms, not when I sell it. Even though the money is realized when I sell it, it's made on the acquisition side. If you understand this, you get better at the acquisition side, and then your like whole business gets downhill. Like, for example, like just an example, just to wrap your head around this. Like, if you could have $100 Amazon gift cards and you could acquire them for $100, okay? This is obviously a theoretical example. And you could have a great salesperson, the best commission salesperson you've ever found in an agency, go sell them for you. You would probably have some success. But imagine you could acquire those same Amazon gift cards from somebody who didn't need them anymore, or couldn't use them, or didn't understand the value for one reason or another, and sold them to you for $20 US, and they were $100 gift cards. And you could turn around and sell them for $75, and still they would be value to people, right? Would you rather have the best salesperson selling $100 gift cards for $100, or would you rather have, you know, your grandma selling $100 gift cards for $75, right? Like a clear value proposition. Well, in my experience, you sell more with your grandma. That's an example of like how money is actually made in the agency space when you buy and acquire assets, like the terms and price you get. So it's kind of a deep topic. I plan on doing some more stuff as the world gets crazier and crazier to help you guys with this. But if you really understand that, you'll be rich in any economy. It works in any economy, right? But people are way more open to play ball with their assets when they have no cash flow and those assets become liabilities. All right, Christopher says, I sell Facebook ads to contractors and charge them a monthly retainer. Some of my clients work with Home Advisor and are used to being able to turn on and turn off their ads, but this isn't the way I work. I have a contractor who wants to start with me, but I think my monthly model is dissuading him. It's not like he wants to turn his ads on and off every few days, but he's traveling 10 days on July 20th, has no one to pick up the slack when he's gone, and that this kind of messes everything up for me. Does anyone else run into this and have suggestions? Christopher, as usual, have a counterintuitive answer for you. Like, and it is very simple. I have a rule when I work with people is that I don't work with single owner operators. And so one of my clues is, if that owner gets hired, does he go out and swing the hammer? Is he the one who answers the phone? It sounds like in your case the answer is yes, and I'll tell you why I don't do that for all the reasons you just mentioned. Because they're easy to get swamped in work, because they don't have systems in place, because they don't know how to answer the phone. And so those are actually the hardest clients to help. So my suggestion for you is, yeah, you're probably going to have to pause this guy's ads while he goes on vacation. That is a short-term answer. But I want to give you the long-term answer, which is focus on clients who are bigger than that, who actually have real businesses. So like my first question would be to a contractor is, how many crews do you currently have? And if the answer is crews, question mark, it's just me, I would run. That doesn't mean these are bad people, by the way. What I'm talking about is really just like, often these people make bad business partners, right? So you want people who are going to make good business partners. And I see this all the time, where it happens where somebody gets like a little one-person contractor, eventually does like awesome SEO and ranks them, and the contractor is backed up for 4 months and fires the SEO person for being too good at their job. That doesn't happen when you're working with a contractor who has 30 crews and is all around the state. So this is an incentive for you to go after bigger clients, do bigger deals, and produce bigger results. And here's the amazing thing. Often it's not doing anything different than you're already doing. It's just adding a zero to the budget, but they have the ability to scale with you, and that'll make your life whole much easier. And they have the infrastructure to be able to answer the phone, to be able to close. It's not like entirely owner dependent like most of the businesses. So a lot of times when people approach, this is why I did a training on less but better agency lead gen, is usually like people's idea of a target client is like any dentist, any lawyer. And what I found is working with these different niches, is there's a spectrum of people in those niches. Some of those people, by the way, especially in local businesses, have gotten by on word of mouth and referrals their entire life and will never spend on advertising. And even if you convince them to do it, they'll be very timid and they'll probably pull the plug on it very, very quickly. And so what I've found is the best thing you can do is go after the people who are actually actively spending money today and are trying to grow and are doing the things you want them to do. So I look for, if you're running Facebook ads, a telltale sign to me might be, are they running Google ads, right? Your stuff would add on in those cases. So I hope that helps you, because what will make your life a lot easier is just going after bigger clients. That doesn't mean you have to go after the biggest. If you don't feel ready for that, don't. But I go after clients that at least have enough size and room to scale and are spending money on ads. And a lot of people think, won't that shrink the size of my target market? And the answer is yes. And that's actually what you want, because if you're building a lifestyle agency, you're going to max out at about 100, 120 clients. Sometimes our goals are only like 10 to 30, but whatever your goal is, I'm going to tell you, it ain't going to be bigger than 100. When I've been at 100 clients more than one time in my life, and there was no part of me that thought, you know what I need now is more clients. Right? So if you're going to max out at 100 clients, choose those people carefully. Choose those people who have infrastructure. Choose the people who spend money on advertising. Choose the people who share your values and want to grow. And what you'll find is you make your life a whole bunch easier, and then you have less lead gen to do both for them and to them, right? Like oftentimes, like I say, when I do lead gen, like people do, I'll send out 5 letters in the mail and get 3 clients. Right? That's it. That's my whole lead gen campaign. 5 letters. They're very personalized. They're very targeted. I've hand selected who I'm sending the letter to with an irresistible offer of why we should work together. I'm not just chasing like any general contractor, because I know most of them aren't good to work with. That's why I tell you this, because you'll find out, like you were finding out now, like maybe he can't answer the phone. Maybe he can't be there all the time. I experienced this when I worked with single lawyers. They would be in court. They couldn't answer the phone half the time. They didn't know what to say when people answered the phone. They were good to their clients, but they often couldn't manage them once they got them because they didn't have the infrastructure. And so I found it's a lot easier just to work with what looks like a real business, that looks more like a franchise with systems and processes and procedures. So hope that's helpful to you. By the way, just for those of you guys who missed the little intro here, we got some really cool stuff going on in the mastermind, where right now we are there's a lot of reasons really why people come to us. One is just to get off the damn phone. If you want to like sell your stuff through video and make it a whole bunch easier, that's one reason. Another reason is like, balancing the sales and the fulfillment. Like it's a roller coaster if you don't know how to manage it. And assets are a big secret of that, is when you do that, you can scale way bigger with way fucking less effort. I wish I knew this shit 10 years ago, but that's the whole point of it for you guys, as well as like for those of you guys who are hiring, bringing on teams and want to systemize it and get it processed. And then those of you guys who are just concerned about the recession, like I've been talking about here, we have assets that make it so you win even more in the recession. I'm not cheering for it, like I said, because people get hurt in these things, but there's no reason it can't be personally the best year of your life. So if you guys are interested, reach out. I'll send you a video, even if I can't help you, or even if like it's not a fit for you right now for whatever reason. I'll always send you something that'll help you to just leave you better off than I found you. So reach out, ask for the video. There's no like hard pitch or anything. You can watch the video whenever the fuck you feel like it. Nobody's gonna like call you up and be like, buy my shit. It's just not how we roll here. So if you guys are interested in that, check that out. Other than that, that's all I got for you guys this week. I always love doing this with you guys because you're just fucking cool as motherfucking. Thank you, Richard, for hanging out here and leaving so many awesome questions. Much love to you guys. And may the force be with you. I'm gonna go to the bathroom right now. True story. So take care, my folks.